Good morning. Thanks for what your company and your product has been able to do for my health and wellness. I'm always looking for, good body work people who the more holistic they can be, the better. I find that it's been difficult to find people who can do that. They tend to zoom focus on one thing. So you end up seeing a bunch of different people to address a bunch of different needs. I found one of the ways that Chad has separated himself is his ability to be really good at a lot of things, which sounds paradoxical, but he's just really strong in a lot of areas, and so he can kind of look at my whole system and see what I need. But when it came to using the New X, when he explained it to me how it was a new product he was using, he was seeing some real benefits. When he explained how it works, knowing what I know about how the body works and how the nervous system works, I was an exercise science major in college, so I do try to be knowledgeable about this kind of thing. I said, well, if what you're saying it does, it actually does, that's a game changer. This very well may change the game. So at that point, I said, well, we need to try this. And I started to notice some major improvements right away with certain muscles that had basically just gone dormant. And this helped wake them back up, get them back involved. And my body started to feel as I remembered it feeling years ago before they had ever gone dormant. The words I use to describe how I feel after using it are open, more youthful. This was how I used to feel, athletic, dynamic. And so once you start to see the benefits, for us, it was just how do I get more? How do I get more? How do we maximize it? And it's just kind of been a path we've gone down ever since then to keep using it in more creative ways and more strategic ways ever since. The initial feel factor would be that it is very similar to the traditional E-stem, and being an athlete with teams and team sports going back 15 years to high school athletic trainers. I mean, that was the modality, was no matter what your injury is, no matter what you're feeling, put some E-stem on it and some ice and just let it go. And so a lot of us athletes got very jaded to that treatment modality because we felt like that's the one thing that never works. At first I thought, well, wait a minute, that's what this feels like. And then it was explained to me not only why it's different, but then I could quickly see why it's different, after using it. And so I realized, yeah, this is different. And you kind of have to get past that initial, the pads and the feeling, thinking it's similar to that very modality you don't want to do, when really it's very different and will have a very different effect in a good way. So yeah, we've done just about all you can do, I think, with the machine, if not close to it.
We're stretching the limits.
I have different devices that will track my activity, my sleep. And so I know when I'm sleeping well, I see the metrics and I know what's impacting my sleep in a positive or negative way. So the first time I did the neural reboot, my HRV skyrocketed something like 30 or 40% above what it normally would be. And I usually have a pretty good HRV to begin with. So I thought there's something here. And then I also thought, well, maybe that was luck, or maybe that was a first time shock to the system. But once I do it for a while, that will go away. And so I started doing the reboot more. It was pretty much a consistent effect of I slept better. My HRV was higher. I noticed having like vivid dreams that I normally don't have or remember. And so I realized this is impacting my sleep in a really positive way. And for me, I do feel the football season is a marathon, not a sprint. And so getting those benefits on a nightly basis with my sleep starts to compound over time, over the course of a long football season, where I'm going to be feeling much better in December and January than maybe I used to feel. And the same would be true of my entire career. I want to be feeling much better in my late 30s than I otherwise would be feeling. So I think letting those habits stack up over time using the New X could really make a long-term difference that is still in the works. And then the performance reboot is a whole nother thing that Chad's taught me that we're still kind of in the early stages of using, but I was able to do it with his direction before our game on Christmas Eve. Felt, again, you're kind of going off of how you feel or pointing to different factors, but just felt really focused that game. Felt like I was in a great place. Ended up coming away from that game with one of my better games of the year. There's something there, and I think we're going to dive deeper into that going into this season. That's what makes this world of body work so challenging, because it is not as simple as, oh, my knee hurts, let's go to my knee. I think, in fact, that's a failing perspective. That's really an archaic perspective to take that approach. And so because the body is so complex, because there are so many factors, it's why I need a Chad. It's why I need a New X, because it's not that simple to resolve the issues. Better than having someone like Chad to help resolve the issues is to get ahead of the issues so they never happen in the first place. And so it's more important to stay well than it is to have a plan to get well. And that's why, again, even when I'm feeling great, I'm going to get on the New X and do the reboots and do the work to get my posture where I want to maintain it, and to have my muscles firing the way I want to fire them, and have things lengthened and strengthened at the same time. The New X helps provide all this. And even when I'm feeling good, I want to keep doing it, because it's better to stay well than to try to get well after having a setback. I have one more thing to say, which probably is redundant to what I've already shared, but for me as an athlete, I've learned that mobility and stability go hand in hand. You really need to have both to be able to stay healthy and to be the best version of your athletic self. And so I find a lot of times I've been chasing mobility with the stretching type work, and then other times I'm chasing stability with the strengthening type work, but they have tended to live in separate worlds. And what I find is fascinating about the New X is we're basically getting mobility and stability together with the same modality at the same time. And that's where I think doing it can be revolutionary, because, and not just athletically, but just talk about activities of daily living and health. If you can have mobility and stability together, that gives you your best chance to be active and healthy and effective and feeling good. And so the fact that this one modality can do both, I think changes the game. I often tell Chad that, yes, obviously you are working with me to prolong my football career, to maximize my football career, but don't forget, I'm a guy who's going to want to be able to walk a golf course when I'm 50, 60, 70. I want to play tennis. I want to play pickup basketball. And so I don't want my football career to cause me at 70 years old to say those days are over. And he knows that. And so a big motivation for why I work with him and why I do what I do is beyond football, to be able to do the things I want to do in retirement. And we all work too hard in our jobs and in our lives to then retire someday in our 60s or 70s or 80s, and then to lose all the physical ability we had while we were working. And so it's all about, how can I have my later years be my best years and be able to do all I want to do physically and not be held back by physical limitations. So it's certainly, the benefits go far beyond just being a professional athlete, and it goes to having a healthy, full, dynamic life well into your later years.